So it's been about 4.5 months since we gave you the last chapter of the story. And I think it's about now that we're ready to give you the next step in our journey, which now is more about how do we make New Zealand home. And so there's a lot that I want to tell you, but the first thing, of course, is that New Zealand is known for its beautiful scenery and amazing landscape, which is pretty much just outside the door. But you see, it's not all going to see these beautiful sights, even though you really want it to be. It's not hiking through mountains and finding hobbits every day. In fact, you do kind of get stuck into just daily life, and not in a bad way. But daily life looks different. Let me just go ahead and show you. We were warned by someone when we first got here that while you may share a language, don't get the idea that you share a culture as well. And he wasn't trying to be mean, but it was true. There was so much that we didn't know. In going to a place like New Zealand from the US, knowing the language is the same provides a certain amount of comfort, whether earned or not. And it can lure you into thinking that you'll fit right in immediately, even though there's a lot to learn before you can navigate the culture effectively. This is not to say that Kiwis are unkind, it's actually quite the opposite. They're some of the nicest people you will ever meet. But in moving here, you begin to learn how much difference there really is. The history of New Zealand is far more dense than we ever learn in the States. I'll attempt to give you the details that I've learned so far, but please bear with any mistakes or misdetails. The country was originally inhabited by a native people known as the Maori. These indigenous people share a common ancestry with the Polynesian Islanders, and they have an extremely rich and diverse culture. In the late 1700s, the English began to settle the island, and began to interact with the locals. This culminated in the signing of what is considered New Zealand's founding document, the Treaty of Waitangi, in 1840. This document gave England all rights and powers of sovereignty over the land, while guaranteeing the Maori people rights to their land and rights as British citizens. The result today is a combined culture that is primarily a mix between British culture and Maori culture, which is difficult to learn. Beyond the historical, though, even the language is different. Their slang is diverse. I may do a video on that in the future, but whether it's deciphering that togs means a bathing suit, or that the phrase sweet as will never be a complete sentence but a phrase on its own, it's fair to say that there's a bit of a language barrier, though not as much as learning a whole new language, of course. The next biggest difference is that life moves at a slower pace here. With Timaru, the town we live in now, only being about 44,000 people, and that being a fairly large town in New Zealand, life doesn't move with the same urgency that it does in the States. With that in and of itself, it takes quite a bit of adjustment. Many shops close at 5 p.m. on a weekday, and people actually take time to have conversations in stores or in your office. It's quite nice, but it's also difficult to get used to. As for us, we're settling in nicely. Alana is working at Timaru Hospital and is enjoying the new atmosphere. She'll be trying to figure out a new job soon, as the job she's currently doing is only a year-long contract. However, for the time being, she does enjoy what she's doing. As for me, you've seen a bit of my office already, but I've been working closely with Connect Church. I've been developing a media team here, as well as working closely with a college that is attached to the church that helps educate people in theology and develop them into leaders. There's so much more to this than what I've been able to say, but at least this will give you a bit more of an understanding of New Zealand and a bit of where we are. I'm not sure when it will be, but be on the lookout for the next chapter.